After months of hibernation, we are back now. A little rusty, but still kicking. Hey there creatives! Today in this video, I'll show you how I created a robot station using Photoshop, and if you want to download the images I used, the links are in the description. To kick things off, I set up a perspective grid to ensure the artwork fits well with the chosen perspective. For this manipulation, I used images from Unsplash, Adobe Stock, and some by Cool02A from DeviantArt. I created a walkway by combining these three images at different angles. I used the rectangular marquee tool to select the portions of the images, placed them onto the canvas, and transformed, skewed, and distorted them to align with the perspective. To achieve seamlessness, I used parts of the same images to conceal any imperfections and masked out certain areas. Then by using pen tool, I masked out the robot cause the best quick selection could do is this. Even channel separation didn't work well, and positioned it behind the walkway. Added the rig part of the trailer drill as a supportive pillar for the robot. I duplicated the same for the other side, then distorted and scaled it to match the perspective. Placed a structure image as a base background, scaled and distorted it, and used parts of the same image to create walls and side pillars to fill the background. Adjustments were made to the placement of these elements to make the overall composition look good. As it's a robot came for patchwork, how it would be without any cables. So at first thought of using the cables from the stock, but it seemed clumsy and cables were not thick for this composition. So manually drew few cables and duplicated it. Using blending options, added bevel and emboss to a cable to make it look three-dimensional, and copied the effect and pasted it to all other cables as well. Then I selected a robot arm and placed it behind the mid portion of the robot and masked it to look like as it's holding the robot. Then darkened the background using exposure adjustment and masked out the center part where the light hits. Then using the same process, darkened the walkway and selectively masked the upper part of it for highlights. Then I introduced an atmospheric touch by painting haze to create depth. As the haze isn't enough, I painted some more haze and finally added a cool tint to it. As it's a sci-fi based artwork, I changed the background tone into blue to match the vibe. For the supporting pillars, I fixed the lighting by reducing exposure and masked the areas where the light hits, and also matched the color with the background using color balance. At this point, the robot looked so flat, so I painted some shadows on it to add some depth, then matched the color using color balance, and then started painting shadows and highlights to the arm holding the robot. Painted some more haze. A focus light effect was achieved by selecting the front part of the robot using polygonal laser tool, applying a linear gradient with white to 0% opacity, and using tilt shift in the blur gallery. In this case, you can also use field blur as I already used in my previous video. Chains were drawn with the chain brush from Imadhavan brush pack like it's holding the robot arms, and added depth to it using bevel and emboss, and placed one side of the chain behind the haze, and another focus light was added to the other side. Used quick selection for masking out the worker, placed and positioned onto the pathway like inspecting the robot and other doing some welding work on it. Used another worker stock. I added legs to him from the worker image that I already masked out and blended them together and placed it near the other guy. Then I matched the lighting and color of all the workers using exposure and color balance with few masking. To make the welding more prominent, I used channel separation and masked out the sparks and added them to it. Then I placed a rusty texture image on top of the robot and clipped it, and then masked out in some areas to make the robot is bit rusty. There is no robot without a name, so I added a text to the wall, used blend if to make as it is washed out. As this marks our channel's first robot artwork, I named it Pxl Mark 1, and more robot versions are yet to be done. Make sure you subscribed and follow me on Insta to see them. With a final camera raw filter added with some little tweaks, present you the Mecha Station Pxl Mark 1. Hope you guys enjoyed the process, and I really liked how it turned out, and you can find this artwork on my Instagram. Do follow me there, and make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, keep creating.